Over the next decade, what we are looking at is going out and expanding the program to the remainder of our clubs. And one thing we hadn't done actually for a long time is actually doing direct visits, which we stopped, of course, because of the pandemic. But really, that may be something that we have to do for the remaining clubs who have not responded to our emails and our electronic communications and our social media. And so we're going to have actually our boards over the next several years will take a look at different ways of reaching out to these clubs and getting them involved. I'd like to thank, actually, I won't do a whole long series of thank yous as we hit our last meeting, but I do want to thank all the grant writers. I want to thank the people on the grants committee. And I want to thank the people who ran the programs at the local clubs that allowed this growth to happen. I remember as I was dealing with the grant writers in particular, I told the grant writers 3 things. The grant money will change your club forever. 2, as soon as you start getting them grant money, they'll keep on trying to make you club president. And I told them getting the grants would be easy. Now, some of you have told me that I may have lied to you about the last one. So and there are occasions where the grants have not been easy. But all I can say is that if you've ever played with me in a game, that I'll say whatever I have to say to you to get you to make the next shot. And really, that's what it is. We have to get people to be doing this activity on a continuous basis. And as Dave Allen and I have discussed online, that it's like being a baseball hitter. The more times you step up to bat, the more times you have a chance of getting a hit. And actually, I kind of landed on this when I was dealing recently with a Toronto club where they actually had bought the program a little bit. They had done 3 grant applications in 8 years and picked up $36,000. And I'd helped them with one of those for $25,000. And they were kind of saying, well, you know, this isn't that much. And I said, well, you've applied for 3 grants in 8 years. And I said, and if you look at my home club, James Gardens, we apply for about 4 to 6 grants a year, every year. And that's one reason why James Gardens, we're at, like, over 8 years, we're at $596,000. And that experience, going in there and doing it all the time, gives you a better success rate. And the really big grant that we got for Trillium for 433, that grant was put together on 10 days notice. We'd been looking for a way to get a new artificial surface screen for 8 years. And finally an opportunity came up in a grant that supported it. So we went out there and boom, we put it together. We were ready to go. I think there were only a couple of clubs who actually applied in that grant program, but it certainly opened the doors for us. And one thing I will mention, again, for clubs that are incorporated, because this is something a little bit new, they have the seed, the capital, and the grow grants. The grow grant now lets you have a 3-year program with up to $200,000 each year. Because one of the barriers that we have had is that there hasn't been anything big enough to handle something like, let's say, a new clubhouse, or completely redoing the green, or putting in a new artificial surface green. But now one of the grants allows you to spread this over multiple years with a total of $600,000. So that opens a whole bunch of new doors, but you have to be incorporated for a year. So if you want more information about that, you contact Rebecca or myself. Very good. And we'll go on.
Ralph, there's just a question in the chat about what impact your funds in the bank have on applying for a grant. So I think
I'm happy to launch it out, because it's a question that affects actually a lot of clubs. What Trillium does, New Horizons doesn't care, but Trillium, what they do is that they look, do you carry more funds than you spend in a year in your normal activities? And this, for example, for the OLBA, this has been a big barrier, because we have been relatively conservative in terms of having a large cash float at the start of each year. And so it has blocked the OLBA from getting Trillium grants. However, again, my own club, James Gardens, we have, typically speaking, about $25,000 to $30,000 in the bank each year, which is more than our operating expenses. But Trillium accepts that with no problem. We turn around and we say, well, we're setting aside money for the next time when we have to change the green, and they seem to accept that. I have another club that is blocked because they have like $300,000 in the bank, and they don't have a way to explain it. And we've tried explaining it a lot of different ways, but there's no way to get around it. But really, if you're a little bit over, if you're, let's say, probably $50,000, they're in terms of funds that you have at the side, they're probably not going to care as long as you put in a decent explanation that you're saving towards replacing your equipment. Let's say you're saying you want to get a new mower in a couple of years, or you want to get a new roller. These things can cost anywhere from $7,000, $25,000. So if you say that that money is reserved for that, they will accept you having the money in the bank. So I hope that answers it. If you're having specific problems, come to us. We can work with you in terms of your balance statements and so on. Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Which one was it that was okay with you having money in the bank?
New Horizons doesn't care. You could be rich.
New Horizons, okay.
Yeah, but New Horizons is limited to $25,000. While Trillium, their seed is $100,000, the capital is $200,000, the growth is $200,000 a year for up to 3 years. So obviously, if you've got a big project, then the growth grant is what you're looking at.
I'd like to. What we're trying to look towards is replacing the boards around the. That's our big project.
That's not bad. You can do that under New Horizons. That you will usually fit under 25,000.
Yeah. So if people have specific questions about their grants, we have an email, grants@OLBA, and Ralph's still going to be available to us, although he's outgoing, retiring president. And Rebecca McQueen has been doing a great job doing grants as well. So they will be able to answer questions for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have different experiences too, like the doing boards can be more or less expensive depending where you are in the province. Some places tell me 25,000, they'll do our boards no problem. In other places, that's a little more up in the air. Same thing for lighting. I think Alora got the best quoting for lighting I'd ever seen. We had one question pop up with the hand, or is that okay? Okay, nobody's up with the hand at the moment. All right. But contact us. We'll give you details or work with your specific situation. As we're going forward, okay, we are increasing in membership each year. We're in a good situation, but this is not guaranteed. I always knew when we started this program, when we were looking at giving our clubs the resources to expand, that it was going to take longer than 8 years. My best guess was about 15 to 20. So we probably have another 10 years of expanding these programs to our clubs and going on and teaching everybody how to do this. Because what happens is, well, to be honest, I've seen it with James Gardens, where after about 4 or 5 years of getting grants, unless something new or really big comes along, there's not that much left to apply for. Okay, but other clubs need to get into the cycle of doing the applications. And like I said, we have lots of standardized applications that have already been done, that have already been successful. We have them in our database. We show you cut and paste at will, and then we go and we tune the local response, add some local color, and deal with your particular situation. But there's real opportunities here to get 60-80% of our clubs involved, to have all of you getting money. I think it's realistic that we could start getting grants across the province in the level of like $3 to $4 million a year within the next 10 years. Hi, Jan. Question? You're muted right now, Jan. So you may have to unmute.
There we go. How's that?
Very good. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, good. I'm just wonder if we have a sense of are there clubs that are at risk of closing, say, in the next 2 years? And if so, what can we do club to club
to
help them?
Well, if you talk to Bill Arthur, he's kind of got a little watch list. The way it works economically is that if you start dropping 25 members and below, then if you're having to pay for maintaining your greens and the city isn't doing it, then you're in real trouble financially. Either your membership fees have to be very high or you have to have other sources of income. So if you're getting below 30 members, it's time for you to start being concerned. Unless the city completely carries your expenses, then that is something that kind of kicks in with us. For clubs that are around them, if we can work together with clubs to pull in help from other clubs to run membership events, to draw people into the club, and we can get grant money in the club, but getting grant money in the club takes about a year to happen. So when you start the applications, usually there's a 4 to 6 month waiting period to get an answer, and then you've got to get the money and then run the program. So the grants work, but they work over the course of 1 year to the next year. For immediate help on membership events, either contact your district chair and maybe try to organize help that way, or you can contact the OLBA and we'll try to organize help in your local area. Okay. Jim, did you have a question?
How many, sorry, I just want to follow up. How many clubs are still unincorporated? Do you know?
It's about half. Now, what we've had is that we've had a number of clubs incorporate specifically to get grants. We've had that with Whitby, with Beaton, I think it was Mount Forest as well. And these clubs, they've gone out and they've been very successful. They've pulled in big money grants from Trillium, and sometimes more than one. So that's a big focus for us right now, because if you were not incorporated, you were cutting yourself off from all of the big money Trillium grants. So we really, really want you to have that door open. New Horizons is nice, and yes, you can pick up $100,000 over the course of about 4 to 5 years, but there are limitations there for big ticket items like lighting and redoing your ditch boards and the other major capital expenses. Okay. Go ahead, Jim.
Yes, more of a comment. I agree 100% with you, Ralph, that grants have been very important to clubs. And here at Bobcaygeon, we've been very successful over the last number of years of getting various grants that have helped our clubs, or our club. And I attribute the success of that to the people that are doing the grants and all the work that's involved in putting them together, because it is a lot of work. The person that is presently doing ours is saying, I'm not going to do them anymore. You have to be very computer savvy, as I understand it, to be able to work through the process of applying for these grants. As you mentioned in your comments, cutting and pasting and all that stuff. And right now, when I'm losing this person that has done our grants for the last couple of years, I have no clue of who else in our club would be able to do this. So I just throw it out. I think a number of clubs, that's the problem that they face, is that they haven't got a person that is very computer savvy to be able to work through, and they get frustrated in the application process, because I've never done one, but I understand that and I really don't have the computer knowledge to be able to do it.
Okay. Now, here's actually a couple things we'll do. One, the grants committee, we will train your local person. If you pick a person, they're willing to do it, we'll go and we'll train them. If you can't do it, we will write it for you. There is a reason why we don't go and, let's say, have like a team of 6 people writing all the grants across Ontario for all the different clubs. And the reason for that is that if we do it, when those people quit, then you're kind of, you're up a tree. If we go out and we train people at local clubs, then what happens is they end up training other local people or other people at other clubs. It becomes a grassroots.
It's 2 for sure, could be 3.
Okay.
This is my.
I'm not sure. Okay, sorry. I'll hop into the floor in a second. But anyway, but it works out that sometimes you have a person and they're there for a long time, But if you don't have a person, especially if you're a small club, then we will help you with it. I had one club where I had a person, they were doing like, there were 54 questions they had to answer, and they were answering like one question a week. And I took a look at this process and I said, okay, boom, I wrote the grant application and sent it to them. And this is a matter of experience. Right now, for the standard 5 or 6 things that people tend to ask for in New Horizons grant, I can write it in 1 hour because I look at what are the 5 grants I've got in that particular topic. I pull it over, I cut and paste the material in, I ask them specific local questions, and then we fine tune it. So for me, a New Horizons grant is about an hour. A Trillium grant tends to be longer, even though the number of questions they ask actually is shorter, because you have to make sure you have to have the financial stuff right, because you could be disqualified on the financial materials. So it is only if you identify a local person, we'll train them. If you don't have a local person, we'll find a way to write it for you. So we'll make it happen one way or the other. Laura, did you want to hop in? I noticed you have your hand up. Okay, nothing. You can hop in later on if you like. So, so feel free to contact Rebecca. And like I said, we have like 6 people in the grants committee. They can all work with you and they can set out a plan. Because one of the other things actually I tell clubs is that don't apply for one grant and then sit there for 10 years. You have to go out there, and if you go, it's all a question of numbers. You just keep on applying, keep on applying, keep on applying. And I tell people things they should apply for every year: New Horizons, Trillium, Canada Summer Jobs Program, Participation. There's the Ontario Senior Community Grant, which is not bad, but sometimes very hard to get, sometimes very easy to get. And they've changed some of the rules of that, but it is out there every year. If you need to make your club accessible, there's the Ontario Inclusive Community Grant. So there are a whole bunch of ones that are out there. And if you're out there applying all the time, you do well. And even though sometimes grant agencies will turn to you and say, it helps if you haven't gotten a grant before, our experience is the exact opposite. That once you start getting a grant and then doing it successfully and filling in all the reports afterwards, usually it's one report, but you do the report afterward, then having done that successfully, the next time you apply, you have a better chance. Statistically, a better chance than a new club applying for the first time. Okay, so any other questions floating out there? Okay, again, keep in mind, you can always contact us. We're always around. Again, and your specific circumstances may be unique, so we're happy to work with that. So again, looking forward over the next 10 years, we want all of you to be rich, or at least use the grant money or corporate events or leagues to jumpstart your club and go out, have a financial base for your club where you have the money to recruit, where you have the money to have good facilities. And the thing that drives me crazy is that we send all these 70 or 80-year-old people out there to go work on our greens. Said, hopefully you have the money where you can go and you actually pay someone to do your greens. So, and that way it's not such a big demand on your labor. And as I tell people, in the 1970s, we all had paid greenskeepers. This is one of the changes. So in the end, go out, get that money, and here, depending on how good you, I've got my subliminal aids here to get people to do this. Here, I won my special shirt for today. This is my grant writing shirt with a nice big dollar sign on it. That's my subliminal reminder for you to go out and get the money. So anyway, it's been a pleasure working with you on the board for the last 8 years. I will now be around in the background and happy to help people. And Rebecca will be the one leading the charge of the grants. So thank you all. It's been great fun. And I look forward to seeing you people on the greens now that I have some time. We're now going actually with the establishment of quorum. And Karen, do we have quorum?
Yes, so still doing some counting because it's kind of quick on the fly. There's 87 people on the call, and by my quick count, which I'll do more thoroughly after the call, it looks like at least 50 of them are voting delegates, which is well over our quorum. So yes, we have quorum.
Very good. And just for comparison, when we did in-person meetings, we have, I think the most about 58 clubs would show up. And so now we have more people. Some people represent the club. Some people are just actually in for interest. So very good. I am pleased to see that we are in good shape here. And 1 second. I'm just going to hop onto my. Very good. Okay. Do we have a declaration of conflicts of interest? Do we have any conflicts of interest? Not hearing any. Okay. Very good. So now we're going to move on to our motions. Okay. Motion number one, that the agenda as circulated be approved. We need a mover and a seconder. Guelph has offered to move. We need a seconder.
Sorry, who from Guelph?
Which person from Guelph is it? Is it Travis? Blake. Very good.
Well, okay, thank you.
And we have Carol. Carol Isadora.
Sure. Okay.
Very good. Very good. And usually what we can vote, actually, you see the little hands at the bottom of the screen. We put it up. So basically when I say all in favor, just actually hit the hand, and then after it's hit, then you can hit it again to take it down. So all in favor.
Hang on, Ralph.
Yeah.
So we need someone to move a motion. So we published the package a month ago. We need to make 2 edits. So we need to revise motion number 1 to remove the auditor's report. We'll explain that when we get to voting on that motion. And we also need to change the name of the auditor. And again, we'll explain that in more detail when we get to there.
Okay, so we need a motion to amend and the seconder to amend.
Right. So it looked like Tom Boker was seconding one motion. I'm not sure which one. But we need a mover.
I've got Lorraine.
Lorraine. Okay. Lorraine. Yeah.
Very good. So basically, then we're going to vote on the changes to the agenda, and then we vote on the amended agenda after that. So all those in favor of the amended agenda, raise your hands on the little screen. Or you can raise your hands physically if you want, if you don't find the button.
Okay.
The little button should be just down at the bottom of your screen.
So, yeah, so we've got some 60 hands up, Ralph.
Very good. All right, so now we're going to vote on the agenda as amended. So same process again. Raise the hands.
So we're up to 58 hands raised for that.
Very good. All right, that's it. So now actually move on to the motion number 2, which is approval of the minutes. The minutes of April 27, 2024 annual general meeting as circulated be approved. We need a mover. And the Guelph is very fast again. So then we need a seconder for the minutes from last year. At Coburg, is that? Oh, okay, so Aaron Chambers is moving, seconding.
Aaron, okay, thank you.
Very good. So, has anybody? Are there any amendments to the minutes or questions about the minutes? No. Okay, then all in favor of the adoption of the minutes, again, hit the hands again.
Okay, we're up to 54 and counting. Oh, yeah, sorry, Carol. Thank you.
Very good. So now that is passed, and now we're going on to again, the election of directors, which is always very nice. The nicest thing as an outgoing president is to be leaving and to know that you're in good hands, and to feel very confident that you're in good hands. I'd like to congratulate Karen as our new president for 2-year term. James Rimmer has been reelected as treasurer for 2-year term. And directors for 2-year term, there's Bill Arthur, Rebecca McQueen, a new director, again, Andrew Keegan, and again, directors on a 1-year term. We have Pat Binney, who is returning, and we have Brian Blair, who's new. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you for coming onto the board. One thing you notice, that because Karen is moving from secretary to president, that the board will be appointing basically another person to act as secretary. So you see those changes coming out soon. So congratulations to everyone. We really appreciate what you're doing. And also mention.
So we do have one vacancy on the board for a year. So it's a nice way to get your foot wet to join the board for a year and see whether you're willing to stay. That's how I got I was going to use the word sucked in, but how I got recruited was to join for a 1 year. And then I ended up staying.
And one thing I will mention to passing is that we try to tailor the work to things that you're good at and what you're interested in. Like sometimes it's obvious when somebody comes in what they want to do, and other times you need to take some time to get your feet wet. But certainly we appreciate that. Now, with this again, we're going to continue on with the meeting. Actually, Ken, at this point, actually, do we shift over to you actually as the chair for the meeting? Or shall I continue?
Well, so I think we'd agreed, Ralph, that you would continue to the awards because you're going to do the President's Award. So I'll let you do that.
Okay.
But actually, the next agenda item is not you.
Yes. All right, so we're on to the Finance Committee. So, and we're now some explanations here of what's going on as well. That the financial statements for the period ending October 31, 2024, along with the auditor's report as circulated, be approved. Now, one thing I'm going to.
So why don't we let James talk to all of that, and then you can provide more if needed.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to, of course, the most gripping part of any AGM, a big wall of numbers. I appreciate that this may not be the easiest thing to read, but I wanted to give some context as well as our budget. We are in a stronger financial position than we've been in several years. Our membership growth has resulted in significant increases in membership revenue, which has improved our financial position. Further, the decision to move to 5-a-side competitions in 2024, while controversial, and there are many strong opinions about it, which I respect, it did result in significant savings in the operations of our competition. It was, simply put, it was cheaper. The thing with, as all, I'm sure everyone knows, tournament costs are all about the setup of the tournament. And so when you have lots of provincial events, it generates lots of costs. When you have fewer events, that will result in reduced costs. This is just like I said, we saved about $14,000. Just a one-line item I wanted to highlight in the 2024 results. If you notice, there's a line for member discounts. Just in the spirit of transparency, I want to explain that the OLBA gave 2 member discounts to 2 clubs. Wells Hill in Toronto, which had been under construction for 7 years. They went under the hammer in 2017, COVID hit, and it was substantially delayed. And thus, to enable that club to have a strong setting, we essentially charged them 1 membership and gave them a discount based on their full membership for the 2024 year. They had a very successful year. I believe they have over 60 members, and they will be definitely getting an invoice for 2025. But the idea was to give them kind of a fresh start and a strong start. Secondly, Park St. Mary's similarly is having a municipal construction project. They lost their clubhouse. They lost really access to the site, as I understand it. And I even saw on Facebook the other day that they may not have access to their site into to the end of May. As a result, given that they couldn't really offer a full experience, we similarly waived their fees again to help them succeed and go through a challenging time. And one thing we have noticed is when there's substantial renovations of a club facility, that does generate interest in the community and a spike in membership afterwards. So we're fine with that. The last thing I want to highlight is the 2025 budget is forecasting a $21,000 deficit. Traditionally, we have avoided deficits over the last 10, 15 years, and with good reason. And that prudence, yes, Karen and I'm aware about Paris. I will be talking to them. that prudence has resulted in quite a significant cash reserves, over $300,000 in various savings accounts, which some of which have been put into GICs to generate substantial interest return. The result is that's actually impacted some of our ability to get grants. As Ralph mentioned in his presentation, we were not able to get a Trillium grant because we had too much cash. As a result, we've decided to draw down those cash reserves by running a deficit in 2025 to achieve substantial and significant achievements of our strategic goals. In particular, a complete redesign of our OLBA website. Our OLBA website, while a useful site, a site with lots of information, is not current with best design practices of the internet these days. If you go onto it, it can feel a little bit like, can feel quite different from other websites that you interact with. And as a result, we want to do a substantial redesign. We have applied for a grant that may offset some of those costs, but of course we can't, those are not guaranteed. And as a result, we forecasted that we'll be spending that money and that will generate a deficit, a relatively modest one in the scale of things. So that is my financial summary. Just a note on the auditor. So of course our financial statements are audited every year. However, and it's been audited by the same auditor for many, many years. However, he in the fall of 2024, entered into an arrangement with a different accountant where he sold his practice, but kind of one audit at a time. As audits came up, Jeff, I believe it was, handed it over to Jim. As a result, we were moved over to Jim, and that caused some significant delays in the preparation of the audit. We received the audited financial statements this week. We have them. They are done. They are completed. They are in good order. However, the board decided not to release them yet because we wanted to read them thoroughly and understand the auditor's notes, and they will be provided to all members shortly. But that's why your package contains technically unaudited financial statements, as well as we will have to get into some details around the approval of the auditor. We have to change the auditor's name in our motions, which is just some administrative details. We will be continuing to work with this auditor while there were delays this year. It was a substantial learning process for both myself as a new treasurer, Jim as a newer audit to our organization, and I think by next year we'll be able to have the audit completed before Christmas. That's certainly the timeline that I'm working towards. As a result, that's the long and short of it. Are there any questions? Or are we doing questions now? Yeah. Hi, Ray. How can I help you? You're muted, Ray. I'm sorry to say. You're still muted, Ray. You got a mute on in the call.
Thank you. Yes, what are the annual fees this year?
Sorry, Ray, you're very, very quiet. I can hear that you're talking, but I can't make out any details.
I think he actually asked what the fees were for OLBA and BCB.
Oh, it's $40 for where there's no fee increase this year. That's a great question. That is something I should have mentioned. There's no fee increase this year because again we've had some financial successes. We didn't feel there was a need to increase the fees.
While noting that BCB has increased our fee, but we're not.
Yes, we're not passing that on.
We've charged you.
Stan?
Yes, you've got, if you take a look at the numbers there, you've got an $8,000 budget for Hall of Fame. I just wonder whether you would you'd tell us what that's all about, or that's a substantial amount of money, and I just wonder what it's going for.
That's a great question. So several years ago, the OLBA established a Hall of Fame, and it's run mainly. I don't want to give him the title of Director of Hall of Fame, but it's, as I understand it, largely run by Ian Howard. And they have an event. It was annual pre-COVID. Since COVID, it's happened twice. My memory is not as sharp as it should be. And what we've budgeted for is an event. So a room, we'd have some food, we'd give out an award. It would be, I think we're moving to a biannual cycle. That's why we didn't pay for it in 2024. So we pay for it in 2025. We do also charge tickets. However, because I'm unsure of the demand, I budgeted the cost but not the revenue. So that $8,000 may strongly be offset by ticket sales. We sell tickets to family members. It's actually quite a lovely event. I went 1 year, and an important event, I think, to recognize both athletes and builders who've been part of our organization for many years.
Yeah, and just like they've been looking at moving to instead of a annual event, because after you go to a certain point, these are point system, so they're not doing an event every single year. They might be doing an event every second year. They are also taking a look at shifting to an online event as a possibility, but the actual physical event has ended up being not that much of a financial burden at all, because the ticket sales have been better than what we've expected in every year that it's been run. Well, a lot of times they take a look at who the inductees will be and where they're from, and if the event is held somewhere near where their families are, well, then they tend to do fairly well.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, seeing no other hands, I will just end on two remarks. First, I thank every club treasurer for all of your hard work. Lorraine. Lorraine McLean, you're muted, but I'm happy to answer. Sorry, I can't hear you. Feel free to type in the chat if you have a question, and I will answer in the chat. Well, yeah, sorry, Lorraine, I'm not getting any audio. I just like to say I thank all the club treasurers. I know how hard this work is, and I appreciate your help. I thank all the board members, and I look forward to a great 2025. And my email is always open to answer any and all questions as best I can. I try to answer them as promptly as I can. Thank you.
Are there any more questions before we go on to the motions? Oh, here, Lorraine's question.
Yes. So
county and legal.
Can I to provide details on that particular expense that is made up of two items: lawyer costs, which there was a safe sport discussion. Okay. It was a safe sport discussion that incurred some legal fees, as well as we have hired a bookkeeper to assist me in my my work, because I do work full time. And so during the height of the season, we have a bookkeeper to make sure stuff is processed quickly and people are reimbursed promptly.
Actually, one thing I will mention in passing in terms of expenses and safe sport, with our first experience with a safe sport case, the on our end, it ended up costing overall about $10,000, that sort of range. But for other sports, on average, a typical safe sport case runs about $30,000. So this is a very good incentive to keep your house in order and make sure that you actually have safe sport policies at your club, and that people are observing the appropriate behaviors that they're supposed to observe. Because it can get very expensive if this does escalate to a formal complaint and a safe sport case. So win or lose, there are going to be expenses. So that's something to keep in mind for everyone. And insurance agencies have been very reluctant to do insurance for this sort of thing, because they have no idea what the cost will be either. So almost no one actually purchases insurance for this, because the premiums tend to be through the roof. So it's better just to have the best standards for behavior that you can. Okay, so no, any other questions before we get on to the actual motions? Okay, so very good. So it's motion number 4. The financial statements for the period ending October 31, 2024, as circulated, be approved. We need a mover and a seconder. Andrew Keegan has moved and Nick Fair has seconded. Very good. Very good. All right, so now actually, all those in favor of the motion, actually just hit the hands like we were doing before. Very good. We're six, yeah, okay.
Now we're up over 50.
Okay, very good. So now take the hands down again.
I have a lower all button, which I'll just hit.
Thank you. And then we have the 2020-20 budget as circulated be approved. And again, raise the hands if you're voting in favor.
Well, we need a mover and a seconder first.
Okay, yeah. People were very fast. You're voting for it before we even got to the mover and seconder. So need a mover and seconder.
So I saw Maureen seconded it, but I didn't catch who moved it. Oh, okay. Guelph is moving everything today. There we go.
We appreciate the enthusiasm.
Yeah, you want to get us all out of here on time.
Very good. Okay, so then hands up to all those who are in favor.
We're up over 56, so that
Very
looks good. So I'm going to lower all.
Okay, and then to approve the appointment of James K. Jeffrey, CPA, CA as the auditor. We need a mover and seconder. So Tom Boker has moved and Liz Reed has seconded. Very good. So all in favor of that, raise your hands.
There we go. We're up to 55.
Okay, very good. Again, we'll lower the hands and yeah, that is very good. So that is actually the end of our motions for the moment. And now we actually go on to the awards. We do actually have we have several awards actually coming up.
Oh, right. Sorry. I will change slides to help you out, Ralph. Sorry. Trying to do minutes and slides at the same time.
Yes, so actually, yes, this is the fun part of the meeting. Now, unfortunately, none of our people who are receiving awards, aside from Steve and myself, are actually here, but still we have words from the recipients, and we have information to let you know about the actual recipients. So first, we're going with the Bill Becker Volunteer of the Year Award with Mike McIndoe, and Deb will take over from here.
Thank you, Rolf. Yes, we had lots of nominations as usual, which we plowed through, and Mike came out as the winner. As you know, it takes a village to raise a child, as it does to keep a bowling club running. But not every village or bowling club has a member who does the waking up, the putting to bed, the in-between tasks of cleaning up and tending to the needs of the child or club and welcoming friends. But Almonte Lawn Bowling Club has Mike McIndoe. Mike's the one you don't often see in the morning at Almonte. He's up at the crack of dawn to clear the dew off the greens every morning so that you can play. And he's the one who's last out of the clubhouse at night, turning off the lights and locking the doors. In between, he keeps the garage clean and safe and organized. He mows, trims, and tends to the greens. He sets up for and welcomes visiting groups, tournament players, and guests on special days. Over the last 3 years, Mike has dedicated over 1,700 hours of his time to Almonte. I'm not sure when he ever has time to bowl. I hope he does. Mike's willingness to undertake many varied roles untiringly and consistently, the number of hours he gives regularly to his club, and the enormous contribution he has made and continues to make to Almonte have made him a most worthy recipient of the 2024 Bill Becker Volunteer of the Year Award. Congratulations, Mike, and thank you. Mike isn't here today, but he has sent along an acknowledgement of this award. And Mike says, I am truly honored and humbled to receive this award. Thank you to the committee for this recognition. As I was reading and rereading the submission, I kept saying to myself, are they sure they have nominated the right person? The award means a lot to me, and I am so grateful. I do want to remind everyone there is no I in team. I am not the only Almonte Lawn Bowling Club member who dedicates hours of their time over the playing season to support our club. Again, thank you for this recognition, Mike.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, we have a comment there actually from Jane. Is it possible the pronunciation of Almont?
Is it Almont? I have no idea.
Being from District 16, I said, okay, well, if you've never been there, of course, you just look at it and you think, well, that would make sense. But that's
Okay.
not as good.
Almont it
It's
is.
Almont.
Almont,
Yeah.
okay, not Almonte. Okay then, Almont it is.
Very
Sorry.
good. Yes. Now this does happen periodically when we get some of our clubs have unusual spellings throughout the country, and certainly pleased to hear about the award and pleased to hear about Mike. Now next up we have Greenskeeper of the Year with for Mary Louise Matthews, and we have Don Wartman is going to present the award.
As all clubs are aware, it takes a lot of time and energy in maintaining the club greens at a level that meet the requirements of tournament conditions. In addition, it requires a person who is able to inspire, coordinate, and manage a group of volunteers into a strong, dedicated, hardworking team that is willing to get the job done year after year. This year's recipient has been able to see their club's greens through storms, floods, and even vandalism to allow bowlers with their best playing conditions possible. Thanks to her and her greenskeeping team, their club has been able to successfully host numerous district and provincial championships. Most recently, the club was proud to be able to host the provincial's women's five-a-side, even with a short period of notice. She was able to do this, which demonstrated her continued willingness to go above and beyond to make things work. In addition to leading the club's green team for the past 8 years, the recipient has held other leadership roles at Leaside, including president, membership director, social and facilities director, and head coach. She has helped to grow both the greens and bowlers at the club. She has built a foundation of the new greens director, including written notes and diaries. Please join me in congratulating Mary Louise Matthews in recognition as Greenskeeper of the Year award winner. Unfortunately, I believe Mary Louise Matthews is not able to be with us today, and she sent in a short little comment. Thank you for this honor of Greenskeeper of the Year. I've enjoyed this position at Leaside Bowling Club for 8 years. We have 2 greens. There are many challenges to building good playable greens, and it was fun conversing with the other club local greenskeepers and exchanging best practices with them. It was very satisfying to have tournament players who came to bowl at Leaside complimenting our greens. It was a volunteer job that I found very rewarding. Thank you.
Very good. We had a comment there for a second, but that's hand has gone down. Very good. So next up actually is the President's Award, and it is Nick Watkins, who has retired as Nick has finally retired as an umpire after many, many years. Okay, I remember one time when I was playing against Nick, and I was vice skipping, and he was vicing the other team, and we had a measure that was obviously close. That you looked at, and you knew you were going to have to call. You would normally call the umpire anyway. And so Nick offered to call the umpire, and I turned to him and said, "My team will accept your measure." And it says something that I would automatically take Nick's measure above my own, and I take Nick's measure above actually the official at the event. Nick always had very steady hands and also has great knowledge of the game, which we've seen from his experiences dealing with national and international competitions. Nick has an outstanding record as a player, umpire, and administrator. He is one of only 2 internationally certified officials in Canada. He has officiated at World Bowls. He's chaired the National Officiating Committee for many years and left his mark on Canadian umpiring through training a large number of umpires throughout Canada. He has served as an OLBA director and helped structure our umpiring program. Nick has also contributed to the laws of the game and the interpretation of the laws of the game, and his common logical approach to umpiring is a positive example to us all. On a personal level, I always enjoyed events when Nick was umpiring because if I got bored, I could always wander over and ask Nick silly or unusual umpiring questions. I still remember when Collingwood had a tornado warning, I wandered over to him and I said, "So, if a player is on the mat and a tornado lifts him off the mat, is it foot faulting?" Now I tossed out the silly answer that as long as he stayed over the mat, that it was okay. And Nick offered the more logical explanation that if we saw the tornado coming, we'd actually get off the green and get in the clubhouse. So we've always appreciated Nick's clear thought and calm approach to the game. We appreciate all that he's done for us over the years. Nick is not able to be here to accept the award, but I will send along the award and comments to him. Very good. And thank you, Nick, for your many, many years of service. And I did see some hands go up, and then I saw them go down again. So I'm assuming that doesn't require a response at the moment. Very good. So we're now going to move on to the membership awards.
Oh, no, you missed one.
Oh, no, sorry.
She too.
I'm zipping along past me. Every time I see
Yes.
many, I just go. Okay, very good. So we have the OLBA Outstanding Service Awards, and for that, I'll pass along to Karen.
Right. So this year we've introduced a new award to recognize board members who demonstrated outstanding service. They've gone above and beyond in their role as directors. And I'm pleased to announce that the inaugural recipients for this are Ralph Ellis and Steve Shutnick. And these two individuals are very deserving of being the first to receive this award. At our board meeting yesterday, the board shared some personal stories about their history, and I won't share all of any of them really, because they're not all fit for sharing publicly, but they were spoken about with much affection and appreciation. So I'm going to start with Ralph, who I've known a bit more than Steve's, but his contributions to the sport of bowls span more than 40 years. From 2006 to now, he's led the development of the grants and membership program. As we've heard, he's been quite successful in that, and he's led to a reversal of a 50-year membership decline and initiated a consistent pattern of membership growth at OLBA clubs, even after the pandemic. And he's been a wonderful mentor to clubs and grant writers throughout the process for grant writing. And he's also provided this support to other Canadian bowls clubs. And his leadership has resulted in somewhere in the neighborhood of, I think, about $6.8 million of grants coming into bowls clubs in the province, which is pretty amazing. Ralph served on the board of directors of the OLBA over 3 different periods, starting in the 1980s. This time around, he's reached his maximum term limit, so he has to leave for at least a year. But hey, maybe he'll come back for a 4th round. Who knows? He's been the president at James Garden since 2016, and I believe he still is. He was a district chair for several years. And back when he first started bowling in Cornwall, he was president of the Cornwall-Whitton Lawn Bowling Club. And he was probably the youngest club president in OLBA history. He was 20 at the time. So he started early. And he's really strengthened the governance of the OLBA and the sport more generally. And he's been instrumental in many clubs incorporating under the new ONCA legislation. In addition to being a one-to-one support for clubs and associations across Canada on a range of topics, he's also an active member of Bowls Canada's marketing committee. And I'm not sure when he finds the time for this, but he does find time to bowl. So he was a Canadian Pairs champion back in '85. And he's got 6 different provincial medals of gold, silver, and bronze variety. So Ralph, we will miss you at the monthly board meetings, but we know that you've committed to staying on and helping and support us. And I know as the incoming president, I will be knocking on your door via email a fair bit with questions as I get underway. So thank you for everything. And I'm going to let you say a few things, and then I'll talk about Steve.
Thank you. It's been great fun. The one thing I will say is that in my recruiting of new board members, the line I often use is that don't you want to be part of something historic? And that's exactly what the OLBA clubs and the OLBA members have done over the past 8 years. It's a lot more fun to do something that matters long term, and I've really enjoyed being part of that, and I've enjoyed getting all of you to be part of that, because my biggest role, I think, in being OLBA president has been to be a salesman. And I go out and I've sold you two things: I've sold you hope and I've sold you money, and those have turned out to be a very potent combination. And thank you very much for the recognition, and I look forward to contributing at the committee level.
Yes, and we're going to hold you through that, Ralph. And then similarly, actually, the other recipient, Steve Shutnick, I don't know Steve quite as well as Ralph, although I've mastered Steve's name. And Steve is going to be continuing on with us and helping out with regard to the championship committee, although he will no longer be on the board. He has a long history of contributions to the sport and to the OLBA as well. So I'm sure that I won't cover them all by any stretch, but I know that he's been president at Chesley for more than 6 years. He also cuts the greens and manages tournament registration for the club. He was district chair for something like 15 years. He's been an OLBA board member for 8 years and chair of the championship committee for 6 years. And I also don't know where he finds time to bowl, particularly because he's managing Ontario's busy competitive championship events. But he does bowl competitively on a regular basis, including provincials. And he's grown many other competitive bowlers in addition to his children with his coaching. And last but definitely not least, I want to make an appreciative acknowledgement and thank you to Barb Shutnick for her tireless work behind the scenes. We really got 2 people for the price of 1 with Steve in his role. So thank you, Steve and Barb, both. So Steve.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you, Karen, and thank the OLBA board and all the members that I've dealt with over the last 8 years. Because I remember way back, and I said I would never be a member of the OLBA board. I said I have no interest in being on that. 8 years later, here I am. And it's been lots of fun. It's been challenging times, but overall it's been fun. And I'd just like to thank everybody that I've dealt with, board members and outside the board, and my secretary as well. And thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Steve. Right. And I could tell for both Steve and Ralph by all the applause and claps and fireworks up the screen that there lots of other people really appreciate what they do. And like our volunteer of the year, Mike, who in their nomination, they actually quantified his hours over the last year. We could not quantify Steve's hours for what he does. So the next set of awards are the membership awards. So we had over 1,500 new members last year, which is great. One of the things that we really want to try and improve is our retention rate for when we recruit new members. So right now the average retention's at about 56%. So that's the percentage of people who are joined for the first time this year and then they join next year. So the membership award for this year, which includes a free set of bowls or complimentary set of bowls, it goes to Cosburn Park. They're actually the largest club in Ontario. They've got I don't know what their official count is right now, but they've got well over 300 members. And last year they retained 55 new members from the 2023 season. And so this award is sponsored by MVP Sports, and they're actually going to present the award to some Cosburn bowlers who are going out to Coburg for a tournament in May. So congratulations to Cosburn Park. Kevin, I think you're on the call. Did you want to say anything? That's Kevin Boyce, who's currently the president of the club.
Sure, Karen, thanks very much. Really appreciate it. And just a shout out to all of our club coaches and volunteers who make Cosburn a very welcoming place for all of our new members and potential members. So they really deserve the credit for all of our growth. So thanks again, everybody.
Thank you. And so an honorable mention to other clubs that retained more than 30 new members, and that's actually bigger than some clubs in the province, are Q Beach, Oshawa, Oakville, and Leaside. And in terms of new member retention, we did have 8 clubs that retained 100% of their new members, but those were typically, they would have only like a couple of new members, like 1, 2, or and they kept them. So that's great, because in a really small club, those 1 or 2 individuals make a difference. So the 2 clubs that sort of had the 100% and had more members are that get an honorable mention are Norwich and Grimsby. And then in terms of youth member recruitment, we don't have a lot of youth members in the OLBA, and that's actually defined as 21 and under. And the membership fees for anyone in that category are complimentary from the OLBA. We don't charge anything for that because we really want to encourage youth bowling. And so Meaford recruited 5 new youth members last year. So congrats to you all and to everyone who recruited new members. And after our break, you're going to hear some more about our marketing update, which is hopefully going to help all of us with recruitment because it's a province-wide campaign. Oh, yes. And the other thing that I wanted to highlight, we used to do this with actually handing out the plaques at in-person AGMs. We do it online now, so we do send them plaques, and Laura C does an amazing job of managing that aspect of the OLBA, not only the club anniversary plaques, but all the other pins and awards that we have, the Eager Beavers and Bowls Buddies and membership anniversaries for people who've been members for a long time. So these are some pretty significant anniversaries that clubs have had over the last year and this year. So Grimsby, I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. They will be celebrating their 130th anniversary. Simcoe, 125. Last year, Highland Park celebrated 110. Stayner, Ridgetown, Roselawn, and Park St. Mary's all celebrated 100 years either last year or this year. So that's amazing. And then Etobicoke, and I'm probably going to be there again. They're celebrating 75 years this year. And oh, Paris was 140. Oh, yes, you didn't celebrate because you didn't have a clubhouse. So we will come when you've got a clubhouse and celebrate your anniversary. So just let us know and we'll be there. We're going to take a short little break and oh, Preston's 110. So yes, if you have a significant anniversary like this, go on the OLBA website, send us a little note. It's, I'm trying to remember what it's under on the website, and my brain is blanking on that at the moment.
It's club anniversary plaques and certificates. It's under the award tab.
Yeah, there's an awards tab. Yes.
Yes.
So it is easy to find.
Yeah.
So just fill that out and we'll send you something. And if it's a big one like Grimsby's 130, you might even have one of us come out and be there for your event. So we're going to do a short little break, and after that break, Brittany from Bowls Canada is going to give us a little update. So it's 11:15. So we are going to come back 11:15 on my clock, on my computer. We'll come back at 11:20. So just long enough for people to have a little quick nature break. Go be refreshed. And Brittany, maybe what I'll do, so we don't keep you for too long, is you can do your update right after the break, and then we'll go on with the other OLBA business.
Whatever works best for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you probably will be interested in hearing our marketing update.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meeting going well so far?
Yes.
Good. Do you need a facility break? You should go take one. You're probably
I'm good. I have my grapes and my water. Although I'm going to stand up, so I'm going to turn my camera off.
Gotcha.
You don't need to see my belly button. I should have had some background music queued up to play.
Yes, we could have the karaoke section of the meeting.
Yes. So just a minute warning for those who can hear me at the moment. We'll get started in a moment. So given your suggestion, Brittany, I'm going to go ahead with the agenda in the order that it is. So it won't be too long until we are on to your piece.
Sounds good. I'll be here.
Yes. Oh, yes. So it's not quite 11:20, but I do see a question in the chat about Willowdale. So in Kevin's next newsletter, which is always full of lots of useful information, and we encourage everyone to read it, he will be including a list of clubs from the last several years that are no longer OLBA clubs. We've had a number of clubs that have closed or transitioned for various reasons. Willowdale is no longer a member of the OLBA, as many people are aware. So to be eligible to play in a championship, a bowler must be a member of an OLBA club. And then for club tournaments, that policy is sort of set locally, but generally most clubs are expecting that people are members of an OLBA club that are bowling in their local tournaments and jitneys.
Actually, just I'll hop in here. The way our insurance works is that it only covers like OLBA members of the clubs, or you get, like, let's say you had a visitor from overseas, that sort of thing can work. But if they don't cover people from non-OLBA clubs playing in OLBA tournaments. So basically, no, the Willowdale club people can't play at other club tournaments in the local area. They are pretty much just kind of restricted to play at their local club.
Right. And so the SAM has a feature where you can print a membership card, a personalized membership card for one member or for all of the members at your club. The 2025 ones won't start printing until after May 1st. So if you print one today, it'll show 2024 because the actual membership year for the OLBA starts on May 1st. If you're not sure how to do that, it is covered in the SAM how-to manual, but it's under the members section, and you can print that there. That's what you can do for Willowdale. Cheryl, yes. I will update that letter. That was not on my list of things to update, so thank you. There's a lot of things that need to be updated with Ralph outgoing, and so thank you for that reminder. So SAM was launched in early 2024, so we've been operational now for not quite a year and a half, and all of the clubs have attended SAM training and are using it. Last year we had about 250 users trained. This year about a little over 165. So for some of that was refresher training, and then other were new users because there were transitions in club volunteers. There is another training session on May 8th. So if you're interested in that, shoot an email off to membership@OLBA and we'll sign you up for that training session. And the Resource Center, which is accessible to anybody who has a Club SAM account, has all the tools. So there's the how-to manual, there's FAQs and videos. And the 2025 membership season was open for renewals in SAM. And as of yesterday or the day before when I checked, there were over 1,000 people that had been entered as renewals already. So well done to everyone who renewed their membership and to the club people who are actually entering that in SAM. The biggest change that is causing a fair bit of conversation at times is that starting today, all championship registrations are going to be online using SAM. So by that we mean provincials and district playdowns. Now that registration is by teams, and the person who registers the team has to activate their individual SAM account. So for all of you who've been going, why has Kevin been sending me these emails to activate my account? And maybe you haven't been reading all of it. It's so that you can register for championships. If you're not going to go in championships, you don't need to activate your account. So don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. But if you are planning on entering a district playdown or the provincials, you will need to be able to log in. Not all events will be open for registration initially. My computer died for about an hour yesterday after actually during our board meeting and after it. So I still need to enter this year's ones in the production system. They were in the test system, but I haven't had time to enter them in the live system. On our website, you will find the information about the link for how to register for championships, but it's actually embedded in the tip sheet for registering for championships. So you got to open the tip sheet and read it so you can find the link, just to make sure that you know what you're doing. And then there's a tip sheet as well for individual member accounts and how to activate them. And this is an important note for everyone, depending on which side of the equation you're sitting on. But if an individual bowler is having issues with logging in, their first point of contact is their club, because the club is the one who manages their information, their membership. The club is the one who enters, their name, their address, their phone number, their date of birth. So, if they can't log in because their date of birth is wrong, it means that it was entered in SAM incorrectly at the club level, or their email, they don't know what it is, or their OLBA number. So the club is where people should start for their questions. And we've tried to prime all the club membership directors for that. So hopefully that is the case. And so after this meeting, our wonderful webmaster is going to update our website, and it'll look something like this. It will have the information on registering online. Initially, this weekend, the only event that'll be there for registration will be the indoor championships, which are at the beginning of June. And then later this week, the rest of the provincial championships should be up there. And then all of the district playdowns will be up in probably the week after. We're just trying to spread them out. And the only way to register for an event is for somebody to do it themselves. I can't. Kevin can't go in and register somebody. The registration is by teams. And so as long as it's not a single event, just have somebody else from the team do the registration. Once people figure out how to log in, the actual registration process is fairly straightforward. It can be done that way. If there's somebody at your club, so I do know one person at my club who doesn't have a computer. He also happens to not go in district playdowns or provincials, but if he wanted to, he would need to go to a library and get logged on with an email so that he could register, or maybe he could sit down with somebody from his club to do the same thing. So the membership person for the club could sit down at their computer with that other person who doesn't have a computer and help them through the process so that they could do it. But for most people, it's a reluctance to use computers. You have to for a lot of things these days. So just before I go on to the next item on the agenda, are there any other questions about SAM and in particular the registration process? There was the one from Aaron in the chat, which I entered, which is about people who don't have computers. So, yeah. Okay, there'll be more time at the end of the meeting for questions and answers, so you can ask them at that point. And if you have any questions, as I say, if you have trouble logging in, talk to your club, and then there's membership at OLBA for the other kind of help. So our strategic plan, which was shared as part of the official notice, it ends this year. So we did an update for the plan, and we did consult clubs as part of that process. I'm not sure that we had time to do that very well last time, but we did send something out this time. And then we had a couple of sessions with the board back and forth, including a longer planning session that was facilitated by an outside person. to do this, to help us formulate the plan. Our mission, vision, and strategic values actually are unchanged, so we confirmed them. But our strategic priorities were updated to focus on a few priority areas. The plan isn't like vastly different from what our plan was previously. The biggest difference is that we're focusing on less areas than we did before. I think we probably bit off a bit more that we could chew when we did the plan last time. At the end of the day, the OLBA is composed of the a volunteer board of directors, which is at the moment 11 people, one paid executive director, and then some volunteer committee members to support the directors in their various roles. So that's not a lot of people power to carry out all the work that needs to be done. So we are trying to be a little more realistic in what we could do. So our mission remains to promote, encourage, coordinate, and administrate the sport while providing opportunities for all bowlers, regardless of their level of ability or interest. And our vision is to grow the sport and provide all Ontarians with the opportunity to experience the sport. And our strategic values include a commitment to our code of conduct, including integrity, respect, and fair play, commitment to fair sport principles, and that's something for which we're being held more accountable as a provincial sports organization, commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusiveness in lawn bowling, health and fitness through lawn bowling, and a commitment to excellence in development of athletes of all ages and abilities. So we want to focus on those beginner bowlers who are just starting out all the way through to the high performance people that we have in Ontario. So the plan, those are the strategic levels, and then our 4 priorities this time are enhancing membership and engagement with our members, fostering diversity, inclusion, and equity, building communication and organizational capacity, and then strengthening coaching, education, and shared capacity. So you can find details about all of these in the strategic plan, which were shared as part of the notice package, and it's also on the website. And if you're interested in any of that stuff and have ideas about how to advance those priorities, we're happy to hear about your ideas, and we'll probably say, hey, would you like to help us to achieve those? So do reach out to us if you've got some ideas. And just before I move on to the marketing update, I see a couple of questions, so I'm just going to answer them while they're here. So for championship registration, I will be sending a specific note to the district chairs about what their role is. I haven't done that yet. It'll probably happen tomorrow. So district chairs cannot register people, but they'll be able to view the registrations and see what's going on. They won't have control over the closing dates. That's done at the association level, but there will be some things that district chairs can do. And there are, while the OLBA sets the dates for provincial playdowns, there are a number of district playdowns that sometimes happen on a different day. I remember last year, the Governor General Cup in the Ottawa region was the same day as a district playdown, so they moved it. So they do get changed on occasion. And there was a question about, does the waiver cover a player for a tournament day if they've not paid their dues? So if somebody is a bowler and should be a club member, then they need to be a member to bowl in tournaments. You can't bowl in a tournament and then decide to join afterward. But if you've got somebody who's a guest from out of the province, let's say they're here visiting and they want to bowl in a tournament, then absolutely they can sign a waiver and they're covered for that day. but it's not meant to get around those people who are late joining and paying their fees. James, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to add a little top up. There's a subtle nuance with membership that I like to stress every AGM, which is while we charge $40 per person, technically people are not members of the OLBA. Clubs are. As a result, it's not possible for someone to say just pay $40 and get under our insurance and compete. Someone has to be a full member in good standing to be covered. They have to join a club. They can't join the OLBA directly. That is not possible. And so, the concern, if someone isn't a club member and they show up and they want to do a tournament, it's recommended that they be a full club member in good standing of an association club.
Yeah. So at what point does insurance kick in? So we've talked about this a lot at the training sessions. So if somebody comes to your opening day and hands in their membership package, in the renewal, but you haven't processed their membership yet, yeah, they're covered for that because they were a member last year and you just haven't processed it in the system. But they should have renewed their membership if they're bowling on that opening day. Because we don't expect membership directors to be sitting at their computer full time at the clubhouse entering every membership as soon as it's dropped off. At this time of year, you're probably doing that more than once a week just because there's lots of memberships coming in, but you don't have to do it right away. Maureen, you've got your hand up.
Oh, hi, Karen. Yeah, I have a question about the strategic priorities under strengthening the coaching.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if down in Windsor, we have people that would like to become coaches, one in particular, but works full time. And so my question today is, could we in Windsor, OLBA, share the travel time and costs for the coaching? So for an example, meeting you halfway, I understand a lot of the coaching is done more towards the Toronto area. So we would like to be included.
So on a good news front, the OLBA applied for a couple of summer student grants. And despite the name, it's for anyone under 30 that we can employ using this student grants. And so we were successful in receiving 3 of them this year. One of them is directed towards coaching. So we've got money for 8 weeks for a person, and we'll probably be topping it up in addition to what we've received from the grant for someone to provide coach training. So Eric Gallipo, who some of you may know, is now a certified learning facilitator. And so he is going to be offering club coach training. And he is a member at James Gardens, which is in Toronto, Etobicoke specifically. And so some of the training that he will do will be there, but we are going to endeavor to have him do some of that training at various locations throughout the province so that people can minimize their travel time. So if you're interested in having club coach training, please send an email to either Kevin, our executive director, Kevin Goheen, or you can email. There's a coaching email for the OLBA as well. So send us an email and let us know who you are, what club, and that you're interested in club coach training, and also how many people that you've got. So if a couple of clubs in an area collaborate, and they between them they've got like 4 people that would like club coach training, then Eric can come down and do your training for you, and we can figure out a time that works. So if your club coach is somebody who's still in the paid workforce, we'll accommodate that, because not all bowlers are senior citizens that don't work.
Right, right. Okay, thank you.
Now,
I'll
one
be in
thing I'll
touch with
toss
Kevin.
in, very good. One thing actually I'll toss in here is that because James Gardens also received like an 8-week grant for a club coach, we've kind of combined that. So we actually have Eric for like the OLBA and James Gardens, surprise, surprise, are cooperating. We do actually have Eric for like 16 weeks during the summer, where he is going to be available usually Monday to Friday, and we have a lot of flexibility in setting these things up. So pretty much anytime we can get 4 people together for a club coaching session, it's possible to arrange it, either with Eric traveling or doing something at James Gardens. But we'll leave that arrangements for other times other than the meeting, but just contact us on the way and we'll set that up.
Yeah. And there was a question about club endorsement. So if somebody is signing up for the training, they do need to be a member in good standing of a club, and thus by extension an OLBA member as a bowler. And so one would hope that clubs are getting behind this and helping to support people to become coaches, because they're going to be giving back to your club in innumerable ways by doing that. So you can do other training that doesn't require us. That's part of becoming a coach. So to be a coach, you need to do safe sport training. So you sign up through the NCCP national program in the locker, and you can do that training online quite often. So you can do that even before the club coach training is offered. So I'm going to pause the questions there for the moment and turn it over to Brittany Gordon, who is, for those who don't know, the CEO of Bowls Canada. She's been in that role now for a year and a half, or a little bit more than that.
About 15 months. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I believe you have some slides.
Yes, I think it's.
Oh, and sorry, I need to
need permission. Yeah.
I need to give you permission, and I didn't do that because I was busy doing other things. So
that's okay.
There we go. You're a co-host.
Okay, so let me get. Here we go. Let me know if that shows up on the screen okay for everybody.
We can see that.
Great. So hi, everyone. Thanks for welcoming me into your AGM and your annual conference or workshop session, perhaps. I'm not sure what quite this second half is entitled, but I hope that you've had a good meeting so far. So as Karen just mentioned, my name is Brittany Gordon. I'm the CEO for Bowls Canada. I took on the role in January 2024. Did make a brief appearance at last year's AGM, but there was a bit of confusion over the date, and so it was very brief. So I just want to thank everyone for allowing me to join you today. I just wanted to go through and give a bit of a who Bowls Canada is. I'm sure many of you are aware of who we are and what we do, but I just wanted to give a quick reminder. Look about the year in review, so the year that Bowls Canada had in 2024, and then just some things coming up in 2025, which just hearing now the new OLBA's new strategic plan, there's a lot of those priorities that align with Bowls Canada's priorities. So that's a really great alignment piece to see. So I'm really excited about that. So I'll just jump right in and get started. So Bowls Canada is the national governing body for lawn bowls in Canada. We have RC AAA status, which means we're a registered charitable amateur athletic association. Our mission is to provide leadership that facilitates inclusive participation and excellence for the sport of lawn bowls in Canada. And our role really is leadership in the areas of development, governance, competition, and high performance. So as the NSO, we are federally funded. So we receive funding from Sport Canada, And similar to what the OLBA would be required to receive funding at a provincial level, there's obligations that we must fulfill as the NSO. Those obligations shift with priorities based on Sport Canada's identification, the federal government's priorities. And so right now, one of our obligations is to increase the opportunities to participate in quality sport activities for all Canadians, including underrepresented groups, to increase the capacity of the Canadian sports system to systematically achieve world-class results at the highest international competitions, to contribute to the provision of technical sport leadership within the Canadian sports system, and finally, to advance Canadian interests, values, and ethics in sport at home and abroad. So just a quick run through of our highlights from the past year, highlighting in a couple of specific areas. So in grassroots and development, we were the recipient of the Community Sport for All grant. That funding was received to enhance access to and inclusion across local programs. What we've done with that funding is create or develop our diversity and inclusion pillar within our Belonging in Bowls accreditation program, which I'll talk a bit more about in a few minutes. That program or those resources that we've created will be launching here shortly. And we're going to be really excited for clubs to take those tools, to look at new ways that they can perhaps grow their participation, find new diverse bowlers to join our community across the country. So we're really excited about that. Membership across the country, happy to report, had about a 9% increase from the previous year. So that's great. And that a lot of that is reflected in Ontario's growth. So well done to all of you. And then National Bowls Day 2024 was a great success for us. So the next slide, I'll just show you some of the stats from National Bowls Day. We had the theme for last year was Newcomers Welcome, and that was to be taken in any way, new to bowls, however you might define that. Clubs that participated in National Bowls Days last year, 71% reported that they attracted new participants to their club through National Bowls Day. Of those new participants, 85% inquired about membership. So that's a great kind of door to walk through and get some peak interest in lawn bowls. So that's really exciting. And 63% of those clubs indicated that National Bowls Days raised their profile of their club within their community. So I'll talk about this year's National Bowl Days in a few minutes, but those are just some stats to stick with you for a bit. On the high performance and athlete recognition side of things, in 2024, we named our 4-year quad cycle in our high performance squad. There was the creation of the Canadian Capping Project, a way to recognize athletes who compete internationally on behalf of Team Canada. At the World Indoor Championships in 2024, 2 Canadians medals. We had Linda Ning and Mike McNorton take home bronze in the mixed pairs and Linda in the women's singles. So that was a great outcome. Also, for the first time at the inaugural event of the Atlantic International Challenge, our Team Canada went over to Scotland and competed. We had 2 athletes represent us at the IIBC World Junior Championships, with Emma Boyd taking home a bronze in women's singles. And for the first time in BCB history, we had a Canadian squad attend and compete at the IBD World Championships, which included also not just our first ever participation in IBD World Championships, but our first ever para bowls medal at a world event by Ontario's Louise McLean with her director, Leanne Franklin. So I don't know if Louise is on this call, but a special shout out to Louise on that. Congratulations. As well as we had high performance squad member Pat Bird win a bronze at the 2024 Champion of Champions. So a great year for high performance squad athletes internationally. So we're really excited about that and looking forward to a great 2025 season as well. In national championships, we, as many of you are probably very aware, we started and continue to do a championship format review. So the task force was established to review and evaluate the championship structure. Metrics were identified, participation trends, competitive quality, access, and equity. Data collection was underway with input from provinces, athletes, and clubs, and an interim format was introduced for 2025 while the review continues. In governance and engagement, our President's Council terms of reference was confirmed to strengthen our provincial collaboration. New terms of references for all of our operational and strategic committees were updated and improved. And we have ongoing policy reviews to ensure that BCB policies remain up to date and reflect best practices and align with the evolving sport landscape. So that's connected back to our obligations that are as a federally funded sport organization. So looking ahead to 2025 and beyond. So I'll go into more detail of each of these, but looking ahead, we're excited about national, international events, strategic priorities, continued competition review and development of a long-term event strategy, strengthening our partnership with our PSOs like the OLBA and the broader bowls community. So with exciting international and national events ahead, first thing I want to bring up is our Bowls Day 2025. This year's theme is Bowls Your Way. So we're encouraging clubs to join, and I hope to see many Ontario clubs joining us. But you're encouraged to bowl your way. So highlighting all the ways that we can participate in lawn bowls, from newcomers trying the sport for the first time to your long-standing club members to a competition of competition bowlers and everything in between. So the National Bowls Days 2025 is Saturday, June 7th. Registration's still open. With registration, if you do it before, I think we just extended the deadline, but there's a deadline by which we guarantee receipt of our swag pack and our promotional kit. So we'll have some free giveaways that you can give out on National Bowl Days, as well as promotional posters, promotional postcards about the event, about lawn bowls in general. So if you register by that date, which is available on our website, it guarantees that you'll receive that in time to do some promotion with those posters. But you can sign up your club event right until the day before, and we list all the clubs that are participating on our website. Last year, we had 67 clubs. We're hoping to beat that this year. We'd love to see upwards of 100. So if you haven't done so and are maybe just thinking about it, we certainly encourage you to register. Our 2025 Canadian National Lawn Bowls Championship dates and locations are all set now. We have our Para Championships happening at the Nepean Lawn Bowls here in Ottawa from August 5th to 10th. We have the Canadian Youth and Junior happening at the Commonwealth LBC in Edmonton, August 11th through 16th. And the Canadian Lawn Bowls Championships, most commonly known as our majors, happening at Commonwealth LBC in Edmonton as well, August 18th through 23rd. On the international side of things, we are really excited, and we're not sure if you'd seen the announcement or not, but we're bringing international bowls competition back to Canada for the first time in a couple decades with the 2025 Atlantic International Challenge. So that's Team Canada will compete against Team Scotland, Team Ireland, and Team USA. And it's happening at the Windsor Lawn Bowling Club, September 20th to 24th. More information about the event, including the schedule, et cetera, will be coming in the coming months. And we hope people will take the time to come on down to Windsor and check out some really great competition. We also just did recently announce our Team Canada lineup for that event. And it will feature our two international competing athletes, Ryan Bester and Kelly McKieran, who I believe Ryan hasn't been competed on Canadian soil in quite a long time. So it's a homecoming for him. And Kelly, internationally, just before Christmas, she was the #1 ranked women in the World Bowls Series ranking. So 2 phenomenal Canadian lawn bowlers amongst our other Team Canada members who are just growing and kind of on fire right now. So we're really excited, and we hope that you'll be able to join us. There will be streaming for the event as well. We're going to do our best to get most Team Canada games streamed, but we are going to be streaming the event. So we want to showcase all the countries. So if you're not able to join us, we do hope that you are able to at least check the game out online, and that information will be coming. From a strategic priority perspective, so some of this is, as I mentioned, it aligns really great with OLBA's new strategic plan around enhanced membership and engagement from their members, fostering EDI, building capacity from an organization and a communications perspective, as well as strengthening coach and education and sharing that capacity. So some of the next few slides are more top level things that we're thinking about and looking at, and not necessarily programs or directives that we're going towards, but just things that we've been taking into consideration when we look at the broader landscape. And so what does growth in bowls look like? So in early 2020, survey data indicated that in 2019, more than 110,000 Canadians were playing bowls through community programming. But we only had 13,900, now 14,700 registered members officially being tracked through their provincial membership. Through their club membership to their provinces and then up to Bowls Canada. So what that was showing us is that when we think about participants and them being tracked, that and the number coming through the gates of the lawn bowls clubs across Canada is not adequately being reflected outwardly when we talk about the impact of the sport and just the far-reaching nature of this sport. Reporting back to Sport Canada, 13,000 or 14,000 members, when we know over 100,000 Canadians are participating in lawn bowls in some capacity. That impact on what lawn bowls brings to our local communities, to our provincial bodies, and through Canada as a whole is quite a difference. So how do we address that? How do we talk about that and get that out there and think about growth in the long term for bowls? So we are sitting back and again, early stages, but we're focusing on opportunities. Now's that time for some bold changes. And the pandemic, and I know we probably don't want to talk about it any longer, but the pandemic heightened challenges, as I know you all experienced, and the issues that we're already facing the sport and the club. But coming out of the pandemic, we've seen that there's this increased emphasis of a need for a national marketing campaign. And Karen referenced it just in brief before, just as I was joining here, that OLBA's got a marketing campaign as well, I believe. So coordinating these efforts is a really exciting opportunity for us. And then what was also found is that new consumers coming out of the pandemic are willing to pay more for a quality activity and experience that has no strings attached, right? So people were valuing or looking at their free time differently coming out of the pandemic, from jam-packed schedules prior to really emphasizing their personal time and how they use that personal time to do activities that they enjoy. So the next slide I'll go through quickly because I think there's a lot of conversation to be had specifically in the provinces themselves around membership ideas and what does that look like? How do we increase participation? Does it look like new models? We don't know, but we started to have that conversation. I think we're going to be bringing it back up amongst the provinces to find out what's happening there and then see if we can help clubs across the country really look at how the business of bowls can find a new way, or a membership model that works for your club, offers value to everyone with the most flexibility for personal experience. Ultimately, I think that's our key, what we're hoping to achieve someday. and we'll work and we'll continue to have conversations to see where those opportunities might exist. One of the other strategic priorities is looking at quality programming, quality sport, and bowls certainly is that. And so how do we emphasize that? How do we make sure people know that about bowls? And so we're relaunching with a purpose our Belonging in Bowls program. So the Belonging in Bowls program is a club accreditation program that has 5 pillars: our safe sport pillar, equity and diversity and inclusion, marketing, communications, club development, and governance. So we are revamping it. We're finding new ways to package that so it's easier for clubs, it's clearer for clubs, and also marketing it better to leverage that belonging in bowls. So everybody belongs in bowls, and we want our general public to get that information, to get that message. And so we're revamping. And when we relaunch, we'll relaunch with purpose that comes with marketing tools as well, just about the value of being a Belonging in Bowls accredited club. The other one in our kind of what's ahead and looking beyond, obviously, is a continued review of our competition format and what we do, reviewing the data that was collected with analysis underway to inform a future competition, development of a long-term national event strategy that aligns competition with the broader sport growth goals, and continued engagement through the PSOs to ensure that our strategy reflects the diverse needs and priorities across the provinces. Every province in this country, while the root of all of our business is obviously delivering bowls to Canadians, priorities do shift in each province based on what they're held accountable to or their obligations within their province, what their members, their clubs are asking for them. And so we're trying to find a way that finds a ground where it meets the most needs possible. Ideally, it would be all needs, but that might be a little too ambitious on our end. And we're the task force that's been struck will be working through recommendations to present to the PSOs and to the board by mid-2025. And then the last one was strengthening our relationships with our PSOs and the broader community. So just wrote a quick bit of how you as a club or you as an individual member can get involved and help us help you and strengthening those relationships. So we're encouraging you to share your feedback on our national initiatives, encourage your club to participate in the club accreditation program, leverage the tools and resources that come with that to enhance your membership experience and welcome new and diverse participants. Encourage local coaches and officials to pursue certification. Participate in BCB storytelling campaigns when we put a call out, and volunteer on national committees or working groups when there are positions open. So with that, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I just want to thank you all and happy to answer some questions to the best that I can.
Right. So Heather, I think, has her hand up, so you can go ahead.
Hi, Brittany. Thank you for all that. That's really great information. I'm with the Oshawa Lawn Bowling Club, and we are working toward the accreditation programs and adopting a lot of the practices and principles. But it just seems that a lot of the outreach is being driven down to the club level. Is there anything that BCB is going to do on a national level to raise awareness of bowls, especially when we have a big national event happening this year?
Yeah, so yeah, we absolutely are. We have preliminary meetings set up with, we've been doing outreach with TV, like Rogers stations and that, trying to leverage the outreach that the sport can get in different ways. So we have meetings and communications like that we're working on. The other piece is expanding the different government bodies that we could work with. So we're in the preliminary stages of an outreach with Parks and Rec departments, because a lot of our clubs have to work through their provincial or their local Parks and Recs department around their clubs. And we are at the top level talking about trying to get the importance about clubs existing in local communities. So looking at it from that side of the piece. And then we're looking at a partnership with other sports of other different smaller sports to, if we have kind of a combined effort of properties, that we can maybe get more of a bit of outreach that way. So there's some larger national pieces that we're looking at, but certainly it's a bit cart and horse situation. We want to ensure that the clubs have the capacity and the openness to bring more members in before we say that there's all this space available for people. And certainly clubs continuing to exist is something that we want to keep at top level. So that communication with Parks and Recs around ensuring that there's value, and then that local Parks and Rec departments see the value in lawn bowls clubs, we can help out in that conversation at the top level. So we're working on that as well.
Thank you.
Right. So I had my hand up, and it's interesting because somebody typed the same question in the chat that I was going to ask.
Yeah.
I was asked this at our board meeting last night, and I didn't know the answer.
Yeah.
Pardon me. So the question is, do you have an update about the indoor nationals? And just so I don't have to ask, I have a second question, which is maybe you can give a bit of an update about staffing at BCB.
Sure. So yeah, there is an update coming around the indoor qualifier. So we don't dub it our Canadian National Championships any longer. It is the indoor qualifier. We have a President's Council meeting in 2 weeks' time, or a week and a half, I guess now. So at that meeting, we will be providing an update to the presidents about the indoor qualifier. A sneak peek of that update is that we are prepared and are preparing to host the indoor qualifier this year in mid-October. So at the President's Council, so Karen, I'll see you there. We will provide a more robust update that you can then share with your membership.
Great.
Yeah. Sorry. And then the second question was?
Around the staffing update, yeah.
Staff update, yes. So, so a couple of major staff updates in the last year that have occurred. So we had our longtime high performance manager, Don Caswell. He retired back in the fall of 2024, and we had Ryan Stadnick step in as interim high performance manager. And then just most recently, our longtime 9-year staff member, Jake, our bull development manager, he has moved on from the organization. His last full working day was yesterday, actually. And so what's occurred during that? And so Jake is someone not easily to replace. 9 years of organizational history and knowledge and bulls expertise. Is a hard replacement. And so when Jake had announced his departure and when he would be departing, I had already been undergoing a review of our organizational structure. And it's been about 8 months that I've been working on it. And with Jake's departure, because he's a bit irreplaceable, we've taken that opportunity to reshift a few things within the office. And really focusing on what our core business is and align the different portfolios in groups that kind of make sense. So what was Jake's role as Bulls development manager? We've evolved it and changed it into a technical manager position. That will also absorb the high performance coordination elements as well. And right now, there's a call for applications for that position. It actually closes tomorrow evening. So if you know of anyone who's interested in working at Bulls Canada, specifically on the technical side of things, please encourage them to check out the job posting, and the applications are due tomorrow night. And our Safe Sport and Communications Coordinator, Sam Burrell, she has moved into a programs manager position. And then a few months from now, we're going to be looking at hiring a events and communications coordinator to elevate and again, some alignment with the OLBA's new strategy around building capacity in that communication side of things, as well as our organizational capacity. So we're looking to add a staff. I'll remain in CEO position, and our national team head coach Derek Dillon his contract has been renewed as well.
Great, thank you. And Jan, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I do. I'm just wondering how the relationship between Bowls Canada and Bowls British Columbia, and whether their bowlers are coming back into the national competition, and how is that conversation going?
Yeah, so Ralph can attest to this. So at our last two President's Council meetings, there is full indication that Bowls BC and their members will be in attendance and competing at our national competitions this year. One of the major steps, and I mentioned it in the year in review in 2024, but one of the elements, and Ralph was thanks, Ralph. I'm going to take this time to take a few moments. Ralph was a key player in the conversations between Bowls Canada and Bowls BC in the sense that Ralph was asking the hard questions. He was asking Bowls BC, you know, what is it that you need to come back to the table, and Bowls Canada was asking that question too. But it's certainly helpful when their counterpart is also asking it. And Bowls BC responded in kind, with the terms of reference being a huge piece in that, and a commitment to collaboration. And so, yeah, so we moved forward. We got the terms of reference written, approved by the President's Council, and then adopted by Bowls Canada Board of Directors. So communications and relationships are improving and continuing forward. And we are happy to report that they'll be in attendance for our nationals this year. And I see Ralph's popped on video, so I think he's going to maybe make a comment or two.
Yeah, so it's been a bit of a road back, but the BC is, I think they're enthused to be back. They had questions about process. They had certainly a lot of internal opposition to a lot of the changes that happened over the past year. I think that they welcome a very open process for looking at the championships in the future. And if you do have like suggestions about running the national championships, just send it to the Office of Bowls Canada email for suggestions about structure. And because they will be looking at everything as possibilities to make it both a worthwhile competition and financially sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thanks, Ralph. Any other?
Thank you. Well, I thank you for the time you've put into that, because my view, sitting here in little town in Ontario, is we need British Columbia to be a part of it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we need all of our provinces. So that it's a national championship is stronger and better for the sport when we have all of our provinces competing. Absolutely.
So I don't see any other hands up. Brittany, thank you for being here today.
My pleasure.
I would encourage you to stay for the next item, which is our marketing update. And I will see you at the regular President Council's meeting. As you know, I'm not quiet when I'm there.
No,
yeah. I'm like Ralph. I like to ask the tough questions. I just don't have his yet. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, everybody.
If you want to stop sharing, then we can go back to sharing our slides. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There we go. So the next presenter is, our director of our marketing committee, Bill Arthur, is bowling in an indoor tournament today. And Reese Warren, who's the head umpire for Ontario, or chief official, I'm not sure which is the correct title. I should know that. He is streaming the AGM at that event, so people could see at least part of it in between their rounds of bowling. So on Bill's behalf, Kevin Goheen, who is our executive director and does an amazing job as that, is going to give the marketing update.
Great. Thanks, Karen, and good afternoon, everyone. So Bill Arthur, our director of of Marketing has done a marvelous job on this this program that I'm about to talk about, and so I'd like to thank him for all that work. Next slide, please. So the OLBA has undertaken a program to market the sport to the people of Ontario, and it's going to be rolling out very soon, and I wanted to describe what it is. So we have engaged with the Zoomer organization to basically be our media lead on this. So why Zoomer? So the demographic fits with our target audience, male 51, female 49, which is basically nearly exactly what the current OLBA membership is. Average age 52, somewhat younger than the OLBA membership. Average income 83,000. So what are we going to be doing with this organization? Next slide, please. So the first thing is our radio ads. So we have got a 5-week campaign on New Classic FM. There'll be 150 30-second spots that'll air between May 12th and June 15th that corresponds effectively when all the clubs are going to be opening up and running their open house. The audience reach for that station is about 650,000 people. So if I can, and this works, I am going to play.
Making friends, being active, having fun. It isn't hard. In fact, you'll be hooked after one roll. This summer, discover why lawn bowls is a delightful and inclusive sport for all ages. With more than 100 clubs offering free lessons for beginners and no equipment needed, anybody can play, and everybody is welcome. Come say hi to your new friends. Visit trybowls.ca to find a location near you. That's trybowls.ca.
So stay tuned. You're going to be hearing that spot 150 times in the month of May and June. Next slide, please. And associated with that, we're going to have print and digital copy as well. We've got a full-page ad in Zoomer magazine coming out. Again, the readership is about 700,000 people. And as well, we're going to be having a presence in their digital newsletter in the June 10th edition. So next slide, please. So here's the ad. Get on a roll, discover lawn bowling. So pretty nice graphics, and you'll be seeing this again in the magazine and in the digital presence. So we are interested in finding out how effective this is. So in the ads, and you heard it hopefully in the radio ad, that people are going to get directed to trybowls.ca, that website. And what that does is it helps you learn a little bit about bowling, and it also has a club finder tool to identify the nearest club to you. So what we really want to do is track the results of this campaign to assess the effectiveness of it, to see whether it was money well spent. So we'll be sending information to all the clubs on how to track inquiries that result from this campaign, and what that results, whether it results in visitors to the club, whether it results in new members, etc. So, and we'll be sending out further details about the campaign and the tracking process that we'd like you to do. We'll send that off in May.
So there was a question in the chat. So the outfits aren't really white; they are colored, and so we may try and get the colors a little brighter. It was a challenge to find artwork that we could use from a copyright perspective that had that was suitable quality for an ad campaign like this. And the Zoomer profile is a little bit younger than the OLB membership as a whole. So it'll be a good opportunity for us to try and get a slightly younger demographic. And, you know, as Kevin says, we're going to track the success of this. And depending on how it goes, we can look at other things for advertising going forward that the clubs across the province as a whole would benefit from, rather than clubs having to do their own campaigns. So Paris asked a great question about a Facebook campaign. So we'll certainly ensure that we talk about this on Facebook. There isn't a specific campaign about that, but we'll follow up with Bill to see if he can find out what Zoomer's doing for that. And then there's a couple of people got hands up. So I think, Nan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Karen. I was just going to mention that Bill, Arthur, and a few of the Coburg lawn bowling players went to the green last week, and he took our pictures in nice colors and sent them to Zoomer, but they weren't able to use them. So they said they would colorize what they had. As you mentioned, it's really hard to find stock pictures that aren't in white. So we were aware of that issue, and Bill did try to work around it, but thanks.
Actually, I'm going to toss it a quick answer on the Facebook stuff because we had questions about that. The experience with Facebook ads has been very mixed. James Gardens did some experimentation with that, spending a couple $1,000s of New Horizons money for very limited results. But other clubs like West Toronto have done better on Facebook ads. So it may have to do with the composition of the ad, the nature of the campaign. So some of it may be more locally specific than general, but that's just a general comment right now. But right now, I don't specifically encourage Facebook ads just because I haven't seen too much results at our club itself.
But we can certainly have Bill work with Zoomer to promote this campaign that we're doing through Facebook and other social media sites as well, because that will certainly help with attracting the younger demographic. And there was a question about the Club Finder. So Bowls Canada worked with us to get the Club Finder updated. So thank you to them for that, because that was a lot of work to do that. And so there have been 1 or 2 recent changes in clubs. So we will work to get those changes made and ensure the new clubs that open, like Wells Hill, are definitely on the Club Finder. So Guelph has their hand up.
Thank you. I'm wondering if you would be able to speak to why we're specifically targeting in this marketing campaign still individuals in their late 50s, early 60s, and why there's no specific efforts being made to target younger demographics, those in their 20s and 30s.
So that's something that we definitely want to do for our advertising. And so this was a relatively cost-effective and very, other than the age, is really aligned with what we want to do for marketing the bowls. So it was a good way for us to dip our toe, if you will, in doing a province-wide campaign. Because certainly in the time that I've been bowling, there hasn't been any of this. I don't know, if Ralph can add in a moment whether there's been anything that was done, back in when there were in the 80s for this and 90s for this. So it's really, this is it should be productive, but it's also going to be a learning opportunity for what works, what doesn't work, and then inform where we would invest money going forward.
Yeah, just to toss a little bit of history here. The reason why we're kind of going for the Zoomer campaign is that it is low-hanging fruit in terms of the demographic. It's something where we know from previous efforts at the local level that it's easier to attract within this age range, and it's harder to attract on younger groups. And we might have to spend more money to do that. The OLBA has talked at the board level about doing a province-wide advertising campaign since 2017. The question is how to do it for a reasonable amount of money. Because I remember actually when I first joined the board, I heard an example of an advertising campaign that would target basically curling clubs. And I said, if you're going to do every curling club near a lawn bowling club all across Ontario, it's going to cost you about $80,000. So the thing is that you could do it locally and only certain ones, but then someone will say, well, why are you just advertising in certain areas? So this is part of the problem. This ad campaign gives us a reasonable amount to spend in a centralized way that hits a demographic that's pretty close to one that usually responds best to our advertising. So it's a reasonable way to put our foot in the water and see, okay, how much impact can we have and what works and what doesn't work? Because for broad scale marketing campaigns, we really don't have that much information about what works and what doesn't work. So this is our best effort at this time. We'll take a look at it afterwards, see the impact and how it goes. And the big difference here with most of the campaigns is that it's not a one-shot deal. It's repeat advertising, and repetition is really what wins in advertising. You have to be out there multiple times before you make an impression.
Yeah. So there's been a couple of questions in the chat. So the community advertising program grants will continue. So that's up to $500 for clubs to support them in their local efforts. And we encourage you when you're doing that to do something to find a way that you can measure the impact of those campaigns and track their effectiveness so that you know whether that's a good place to make an investment in future years. Brittany's left the call, but I know that as part of the development of the strategic plan, I did reach out to her and have some conversations to ensure that we weren't duplicating what Bowls Canada is doing, and there was some alignment for us strategically. And so she has been having conversations with Curling Canada more broadly, but we also have connections to the curling world. Like that, there's a large number of us who are curlers on the board and as members, and we can look at doing something rather than targeting specific clubs. There's things that we can do through Curling Ontario possibly, and in terms of doing things like that to do advertising. But we want this one, we know that the track record of Zoomer, it's very much aligned with our mission and values of what we want to do. So it's a good place to try this out. And as Kevin noted in the chat, there were some researchers from the University of Waterloo who did some research around a variety of things in the sport, and definitely one of the takeaways from their research was that we shouldn't ignore this what we euphemistically call low-hanging fruit for recruitment, and then we can keep moving younger as we go with our advertising campaigns, because that's part of not only growing the sport but also the sustainability of the sport.
One thing I'll mention, quick thing in terms of demographics. Just from long time experience of being a club president, the ideal demographic for you financially is actually about middle 40s, because they stay stable. They're usually living in an area. They're not moving around all the time, and they tend to be members of your club for like 20 plus years. One thing that does actually happen with younger members, and I can attest to this with my experience in Cornwall, is that at one point we had like 8 male members under the age of 22, and because of the employment situation in Cornwall, virtually all of them moved away to different areas. So the younger generation, for basic economic reasons, tends to be a lot more mobile. So you recruit them, but you may not have them for an incredibly long period of time. Financially, the best demographic for you is between 45 and 60.
Yeah. So last year, we did a membership overview that we shared with everyone, and we'll do that again this year later in the season to help with to just better understand some of the demographics that we do have available to us. And if a club in particular wants to know more about the age of their bowlers and stuff, you cannot. So I know last year there was lots of discussion about having the date of birth in SAM, and that is not something that clubs can run and report. But the OLBA can run summary level reports using the date of birth. And so, if a club is looking either for their occupancy permit or just to better understand the demographics of their club in terms of the breakdown of ages, we can give them a high level overview. So you can just reach out to Kevin or myself, and we can do that for you to help support what you're doing locally. But we'll need your help to track the results of this, but I think it will be an interesting thing to see what a broader campaign like this has. And Participation was doing a little bit online as well, which we promoted on our Facebook site. So Kevin, thank you for presenting that on Bill's behalf. And we'll share the questions and feedback with Bill going forward too. So we're at the portion of the meeting that is a sort of broader questions and answers. We did ask as part of the usual process when we do this AGM for people to submit questions in advance. We didn't receive any advance questions, but you are free to ask questions. And so I see that Cheryl's hand's gone up. So go ahead.
I'm curious. This past, actually about a month ago, we partnered with Clearview to run a short mat tournament. However, we weren't allowed to call it a tournament. We had to call it a showdown. They claimed that if we collected fees for the tournament, then we had to get a gaming license. And I'm just wondering, has anyone hit this before?
That hasn't come up before with us. The
like we weren't allowed to give cash prizes because then we absolutely had to have a gaming license.
Yeah, because we've had big tournaments, WOBA, where this has never come up. I think it may be this may be a focus of the particular partner that you had, but there's never been WOBA's run for like, God, 60, 70 years, something like that, and never had to go for a gaming license for running a tournament. So I don't think this is really a requirement. I think this may be just something that the local partner was insisting on based on their interpretation.
Yeah. So Bowls Canada is a national sporting organization. Ontario Lawn Bowls Association is a provincial sports association. We're recognized as such, and we receive provincial funding as such as the provincial sports organization. And so, just from a common sense perspective, and I will do some more research on this to find out about it, but from a common sense perspective, sports are all about having competitions of one ilk or another, ranging from really fun things that are just there is there's no prizes, but people are just playing for bragging rights, right through to national and international play, and that is the nature of a sport. So this is a little perplexing.
You could try calling the gaming licensing bureau, because I called them and they said no, if you are collecting fees from the participants and you were paying those monies out, then you would need a gaming license. And I said, okay, guess what? We won't do that.
Yeah, I didn't think the gaming people would be, because there are all sorts of competitions in all sorts of sports, and they aren't present there. So until lawn bowling is on FanDuel, I don't think we have to worry about this.
Yeah, and we're an amateur sport, and we're not a professional sport. That would be different if it was a professional sport. So we'll do some more research on this, and we'll have Kevin share the results of that in a newsletter.
Thank you.
So I think Guelph was next with their hand up. So is that Tom?
No, it's still Blake.
Oh, okay.
The question is, what is the OLBA doing to help clubs remain compliant with Rowan's Law?
Well, if it wasn't for the concussion legislation, we are in an unusual situation in that we actually don't have to do a ton of things with Rowan's Law, because we're actually considered, how should I put it? You're safer against a concussion while you're lawn bowling than you are going to the club to lawn bowl. It's actually even recognized as a sport to help you recover from concussions. So we do have like a good status in terms of that we're not considered a sport where we're at risk. I think, Nan, were you wanting to jump in here?
Yeah, I was just going to say the regulations in Rowan's Law lists the sports that it applies to, and lawn bowling is not there. If you read our policy on Rowan's Law, on concussion policy, you'll see all of that information.
Is the spider efforts to introduce body checking?
So, Jim, you had your hand up?
Yes, my question is regarding insurance. I believe our current insurance policy covers new bowlers to come to the club 3 times, and then they must become a member to be qualified for insurance. Is there any way of getting more flexibility on that at times to the club? We tried different ways of bringing bowlers in, training, that sort of thing, and it would be easier if we don't have to worry about they've been here more than 3 times. Are they not covered with insurance?
Something quickly here that this has been debated at the board level since like 2017, and one of the reasons that they gravitate towards 3 times is because sometimes you could get clubs that from try to run a league, regular club activities, and you could run a league with, like, let's say 6 times over the course of a season and have it kind of exclude being part of the OLBA and the insurance altogether, which you thought would raise issues with clubs. So that's why the limit of 3 was leaned towards. And I think other people may have comments here too.
Well, what I was going to say is that rather than having sort of a very binary membership structure, like either you're a bowling member or you're a social member, so you pay, $150, $200 a year as a bowling member and something less as a social member, right? Clubs can have a variety of different membership categories that they offer to people. So Cosburn, that received the membership award, they have a couple of different ones. So you can join Cosburn for 1 month. But when you join for a month, it's a smaller fee, but it does include the $40 towards the OLBA. So if you've got people that are wanting to come out and try bowling for 4, 5, 6 times before they make a decision, you can offer them like a lesser membership fee, like for try bowls for a month, for whatever fee you want to set, as long as they're becoming OLBA members, and then that fee would also cover the $40 for the OLBA. So you can try all those different things, because really after 3 times, you're not just there trying it out. You may still be kind of in that, is this the sport for me long term? But you're now there playing more regularly.
One thing that my club has done is that we've turned to people and said, okay, you don't think that 3 times is enough? Here, you kind of deal with them in the course of a month. We'll say that you pay the full fee, and if you decide not to continue, we refund everything except the $40. And just for the sake of the insurance. Also, I'll mention that the successful organizations that run leagues like Newtana and Saskatchewan, that they charge as much or more for the league as they do for the club membership. I've had lots of people that look, we want to set up a league, and they try to turn it into a discounted club membership. I said, no, charge as much or more for the league. The league should be a source of revenue for you. And people will actually go for that experience where they're not obliged to be involved in the membership activities of the club. They're not obliged to volunteer. They just want to show up, they want to bowl, and they want to have a fun time. So if you're going to run a league, run it to make money and include
the
$40 membership fee in there.
Said that,
so you're covered for insurance.
Bowls Canada's got research on this that it particularly post-pandemic, where people are willing to pay more for a quality leisure time activity, right? And as Ralph says, something with no strings attached. So being able to bowl, one night a week for a couple of months, for example, and not have to do all the other stuff. And if you've got questions about, some of the things that we can do to help with marketing, you can reach out to Bill Arthur, the marketing and membership director, because he's very resourceful and has lots of good ideas. Aaron?
I think you're still muted, Aaron.
Okay, sorry. It was a comment on that was made a little while, about 5 minutes ago, regarding the gaming license, etc. We actually checked into it quite extensively and found it was because of our liquor license, and by the way, we're not a little thing that has a little fridge in the back like a lot of clubs do with a special occasions permit or liquor license. Main source of revenue for our main club, the big club, is the bar revenue. And their concern was, or at the time, we can't have raffles. So we can't do 50-50s. We can't do share the wealth. Because it becomes a game of chance as opposed to a tournament, which is a game of skill, and that's how it was. But it sounds to me, Karen, like you're going to check into it as well. So that's
I'll connect with you, Aaron, just to learn from what you've learned, but as well, definitely, so 50-50 draws, raffles where you buy tickets, those types of things, those you should actually have a gaming license for. And I know a lot of sporting clubs, not just lawn bowling, but curling and others, do those kind of under the table. But I had experience in another sport where the city found out about it, and we just don't do it anymore because we were they told us we couldn't, and they were going to, it was going to risk our lease with the city.
It was specifically the combination of the liquor license and the game of chance.
So that's the case there. So thank you, Aaron. Nan, you had your hand up.
Oh, I just wanted to make it clear that insurance does not cost $40. We said, pay the $40 and be covered by the insurance, but we want to be $40 is the membership fee for that member of that club that belongs to the OLBA. That's not what the insurance costs. Right, Ralph?
Yes, actually, I worked it out once that the insurance costs like about 82 cents a member, and for one club where there, it was a big club where they're trying to figure it out, and I said, well, it ends up being about 10% of what you pay is really what goes to the insurance. So it's actually very cheap insurance for liability.
So so the membership fees that the OLBA collects, and we'll probably going to put something on the website at some point this summer that it outlines this in more detail. But there is one on the OLBA website about the benefits of being a member of the OLBA. And so the things that membership goes towards supporting are things like club coaches. So when you've got those people coming to the club and trying out bowls, they need to be, you want to have certified coaches to help coach them. The OLBA fees pay for that. We try to have the championships primarily on a break-even basis. It's never quite the case, but a small portion of the OLBA budget goes towards the championships. And then there's other safe sport things, governance, and a whole range of things. So, the of the $40 that we collect, not quite half of it, but close to it, is what goes towards our Bowls Canada fee. So it covers that as well. So hence the, requiring people after they've tried it a couple times to become a member. And there's always going to be debate, should it be 2, 3, 4, 5? But it's up to 3 times is the number right now. Dawn, you have your hand up.
Just to follow up with the, from a fundraising perspective, you can run a silent auction without a license, because that is not seen as chance. That is actually where people put down a bid. So if you are looking at something from a club perspective where you have a larger event, you could run that without having to worry about a license.
Thank you. I will add that to the stuff I look at when I do my research. Jim, I think you still have your hand up. Did you have a follow-up question?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm going to toss in one thing here, because the Andrew's mentioned about the safe sport training through the Coaching Association of Ontario is a required component. There's currently this very complicated debate going on between NCCP and the Coaching Association of Ontario in terms of what is actually required, and that may change. So you might have to take either the NCP or the COA safe sport course, or you might have to take both. So that's still being debated right now at the BCB level for coaching. So there may be something about that over the next year.
Yeah. And, just given the how much attention is focused on safe sport these days, it's really good to go through the safe sport training, even if you're not going to be a club coach person. So just having at least a few people at your club that do it, because it gives you awareness and thought about a variety of things. And lawn bowls is not likely to have such a high profile case as what's happening in London right now. But certainly I know at my club there have been behaviors that could have escalated to safe sport complaints that had overtones to of bullying and other types of things. And so we all need to be aware of that at our clubs, to offer a safe environment for everyone. And part of broadening the sport and being inclusive and diversify to allow other people who maybe traditionally have not bowled is to be offering them a safe environment. So Dawn, you've got your hand up again.
Just with regards to, I saw a question earlier about, do you have to get recertified if you've taken a coach's course? That depends because there are free little workshops and courses that you can take with NCCP that will give you points and credits. And if after 2 to 3 years, if you accumulate a certain amount of points, then you're automatically recertified. So you just have to keep an eye on that. And if you are interested in taking coaches courses, there are usually 3 to 4 different workshops and little course things that you can take that are for free, that are very educational and can help enhance your coaching ability if you're going to be working with a lot of different athletes.
I will toss in here as well that if anyone here is interested in being a learning facilitator to teach other coaches or train other coaches, that we will pay for your courses, because that's something that we definitely know that over time we have some older coach facilitators who will be retiring, and so we strongly encourage people who are coaches to possibly step forward and become learning facilitators.
And Blake, you've got your hand up, Gabe.
Thanks. That's really fantastic news, Ralph. I'm not sure if you guys have the capacity, but if you sent that out to all of the members, hopefully you'd get some big uptake on that. My question is just, does OLBA provide any resources for board of director training for club level boards of directors?
Not yet from us, but Bowls Canada does have the Club in a Box program, where they look at doing director training. So I'd probably try. We deliberately did go out and try and create something like this because we knew that Bowls Canada was doing it. So take a look at their program first, see if it meets your level. There are generic board training programs that have nothing to do with lawn bowling that are out there, but try the Bowls Canada one first and see if that meets your needs.
Yeah, so when we were working on the strategic plan, that was definitely part of the discussion that I had with Brittany. So it is something that they haven't done much on, but there is a plan for them to do more of that, hopefully. And so, as Ralph says, we didn't want to duplicate that. That being said, as well, in addition to what Ralph has said, all of the OLBA policies, which Nan does a great job on managing that portfolio, are all on our website. And we have no problem with you adapting those and using as much or as little of them as you want when you're doing your own policies. And some of them actually have stuff in them specifically to help with making your own policies.
Thank you. It was less about policy writing or using OLBA's policies, which are very, very helpful, and more about ensuring proper facilitation of board of director meetings, how people put together an agenda, consent agenda, shifting away from Robert's Rules of Orders to a 21st century consensus-based decision-making model that we were looking for support for. But with the information Ralph has provided about the BCB, Club in a Box, etc., we'll pursue that first. Thank you.
Right. And as Ralph says, there's other organizations that offer it. So if you were just a lot of the things that you've talked about, which are really important ways of moving governance forward at clubs, are available through just not-for-profit governance training. And there's a lot of resources available for that online.
Yeah, at the OLBA level, we use the book Call to Order, which is a simplified Robert's Rules. So you don't have to look through like 1,000 pages to find every possible contingency. We find it's a nice simplified type of a book to use to get started for your structure of your meetings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Tom. Or sorry, Blake.
No, that was an accident.
Okay. We've had a few people drop off the call, but we're still at 68 people. So thank you for that many people sticking around for what's almost 3 hours of a meeting. Although I understand that the annual meetings used to be a lot longer than that. So hopefully we've given enough information in this time and provided enough opportunity for questions and answers that people are getting what they need for that. We don't have any plans for a in-person meetings going forward. As Ralph mentioned earlier at one point, is our participation and attendance at these online meetings is much higher. They are more accessible to people across the province because you don't have to do travel time, because regardless of where we have a meeting, people are going to be having to travel 5 or 6 hours or longer in Ontario because we're just such a big province. It takes close to 24 hours to drive from Toronto to the western edge of Ontario. So it's a long way. Hopefully we've covered what needs to be covered. I urge everyone to read the newsletters that we put together each month that Kevin publishes. We send them to the club contact person that's listed in SAM for every club. That's one of the important roles of having that contact person, is they're the conduit for those newsletters, and they are posted online. All of us on the board and Kevin are all just available by we're just an email away to reach out to us. I'm hoping as the new president, that's still kind of new to me, like I knew this was coming for a bit, but it's still kind of sitting new on me, is I'm hoping to get around to a number of clubs this year. As a umpire, I will be at some clubs for championships, but I'm hoping to go separate from the championships to some clubs and just come out and say hello. So, and maybe even bowl in a tournament that you're holding while I'm there. I don't get to bowl in as many as I want. So if I'm coming out, maybe I can do both at the same time. So thank you everyone for coming. If there are any last minute questions, let me know, but I haven't seen any sign of them. We will aim to get the recording of this meeting up in the near future. I'm not sure how long it will take it to be processed and for us to get it up on YouTube. We'll have to rely on Ralph to help us do that. And we should put out the draft minutes probably after our May meeting, when the board has had a chance to look at them and okay them, maybe before that if the board does it all online. So thank you, everyone. So we are officially adjourned.